Today, I'm bringing you some more insane hidden details about the connection between UVU and Charlie Kirk's assassination. You see, it's becoming more and more clear that UVU likely wasn't selected randomly. Instead, it was likely chosen as the place where they would take Charlie Kirk's life and bury any evidence that can point towards his real killers. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying this, but first, you need to hear this interview of the construction workers who talked to the shooter on September 10th, right after the assassination.
We met an electrician working near the university who says someone matching that description approached a co-worker at this job site.
He had black sunglasses, he had a black COVID mask, he had a black trench coat, black cargo pants, and he was wearing a small backpack, and he also had long, greasy black hair.
You did not hear that wrong. According to the construction workers, the shooter was wearing a face mask, a trench coat, and even had long, greasy hair. Now, let's take a look at the photos of Tyler Robinson that were released and used by the FBI to identify the shooter. Surely you can see that he's not wearing a mask, he is also not wearing a trench coat, and his hair isn't very long, and you can't see if it's greasy or not since he's wearing a hat. And yet, the construction workers said this is the same guy they talked to.
Someone's been shot.
Looking back on it, did that person think that was the shooter now?
The guy was already trying to leave. And so we were then shown a picture by the sheriff at the time, and the excavator said that it matched.
Now, the reason why I'm talking about these construction workers is very important. You see, they are so far the only witnesses who talked to the shooter and saw him up close. In fact, thanks to them, the police brought in the canines and picked up the shooter's trail, which then led to the discovery of that rifle. And we even have videos of cops and FBI agents walking through the streets near this construction site and looking for evidence. Now, this testimony clearly contradicts the proof given to us by the FBI, but you might be wondering how it's connected to UVU. Well, let me tell you how. You see, this construction site is actually a home owned by Utah Valley University, so those construction workers were working for the university. This also means that the only people who talked to the shooter and led the cops to his gun were hired by UVU. And we just saw how their testimony makes no sense at all. Also, the shooter's path doesn't make sense either. Here's a small clip from the YouTube channel Gray Hughes Investigates. And this shows how the shooter basically took a very convoluted path while he was trying to get the hell out of there.
See construction being done on this property. See all the cars parked out there. It's got dirt in the back on the ground there. And that's really kind of what it looked like on the day. You know, we know that he climbed down the roof right here and then went across the street and into the wooded area here. And then he likely came out here, and that's where the excavator individual talked to him. And we know after that, he came down like this and then is seen on this surveillance camera right here, going through this yard and making his way back out the street. Now, we know he probably went north here because on the way in, he was heading south on 800 South, going this direction.
So you're telling us that the shooter knew how he was going to get to the Losi building to take that perfect shot, but he didn't think about how he was going to get out? Does that make any sense to you? And let's be clear, this isn't the only time when someone working for UVU led us towards the guy on top of the Losi building. Surely you remember that the only reason anyone even thought about the Losi building is because an officer working for UVU guessed that the bullet definitely came from its rooftop. He even saw imprints up there in the gravel.
There's been a shooting. We heard shots.
Of course, then we got that sketchy footage of someone jumping from the roof, and that also came from a CCTV camera that belongs to UVU. Now, the only reason I'm talking about that CCTV camera is because they happily gave us that particular footage, but they never gave us the footage from the camera that was placed behind Charlie's tent. By the way, that camera footage is still there somewhere.
This is where the bullet hit right against the wall somewhere. I can't find it. Shooter. It's right up there by that ladder. Oh, yeah.
It could have given us information about what was really happening behind the tent because, don't forget, someone opened and shut the trunk of a van right as the shot was fired.
Too many.
You know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not?
We could have seen who was in that van in the CCTV camera, but once again, that footage wasn't released. Also, I don't know why you would be removing certain parts of the roof for a remodel like this one, so if any of you are a contractor, let us know if this is normal. Now, all of this is strange, but it isn't even the only thing we need to know about UVU. In 2020, it also became part of the United Nations Academic Impact, and as a member of that organization, it was doing everything to promote the infamous Agenda 2030. Its website also told us about a professor named Rusty Needs, who worked as a CIA operative before taking the job at UVU. This profile was removed later on since it would not have looked very good considering what Charlie has said about our intel agencies.
Now, but after, I think, 7 or 8 years, and it's taken time, we're finally back to where a lot of the Hillsdale crowd has been, and Dr. Larry Arnn has been, to his great credit. It's the administrative state and the intel agencies.
Yes.
It's this fourth branch of government that the founders never created, they never designed, there was no intent for. Agencies by far have the least proportional civilian control versus careers. You have all these unknown amounts of people, and what are they doing? And it's a black box budget. And I believe that all roads lead back to the intel agencies on all this stuff.
It's also crazy how the man who basically ran the manhunt for Charlie's killer and gave us this Oscar-worthy performance is none other than Spencer Cox.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Governor Spencer Cox, and my preferred pronouns are he, him, and his.
If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Cook stood for,
Charlie Cook.
I can't answer that right now. I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for.
Let me tell you exactly what Charlie had been saying about Governor Cox.
And the core essence of a representative form of government is that you do not repeatedly do unpopular things that the people don't want and then celebrate it in their face and basically taunt them and be like, what are you going to do about it? That's the Utah legislature. That's right. By the way, can you get rid of your governor? What is wrong with this guy? I'm not here about that. If I have to hear him talk about pronouns one more time, you, the people of Utah, deserve a much better leader.
And this hatred was not one-sided, so I find it very strange that this guy was just spearheading the whole investigation after the shooting. You gotta remember, he's also the one who conveniently gave us the trans roommate angle.
Yesterday that we can confirm that his roommate was indeed a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female.
The problem is, the roommate is nowhere to be found. I have not seen any news on him, and it almost seems like he just vanished off the face of the earth. If those construction workers weren't lying, they might have talked to Lance that day. You see, his build is similar to Tyler's, and he does have long hair. We also saw a guy who looked a lot like Lance Twiggs near UVU. As you can see, he was trying to sneak out of there while trying to hide his face. Of course, he's not wearing a trench coat or a mask, but then again, none of the descriptions are accurate anyway. But whatever the case may be, one thing is clear. Lance Twiggs is basically the biggest witness in this case, and if he vanishes, we will never know the truth about this assassination.